Welcome to Cars on Call. I am automotive journalist, gastroenterologist Steve Schutz. I'm here with not just trauma surgeon Stephan Moran like last week, but we also have automotive historian, curator, collector Adams Hudson is back. Welcome back, Hudson or Adams. And we got a good show. We got some BEV news. We've got this or that a little later. We got safety from trauma surgeon Stephan Moran. We've got car spotting, and we have we're going to talk about a special edition of cars that we love and hate. We think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're psyched. All right, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be out here on a morning with the morning Ferrari cup of coffee.
There you go. We already got up early, did a couple slalom runs this morning. I was up at 7 o'clock just after sunrise. Beautiful mist on the water. Had a nice ski run. Great way to start the day. All I need now is a Bloody Mary.
You still
to
have
deal
all
with the aches and pains.
You still have all the ligaments you started with there, Steph?
I think I pulled something in my neck's a little bit stiff. But anyway,
Bloody
stay young.
That's the medicine.
Yeah, Bloody Mary and some Motrin.
Bloody Mary.
So,
that's what I need. That's what every man over 60 needs to start the day.
yeah, Bloody Mary and Motrin. I don't do that. I'm a very, very different. I do Red Bull and Motrin. But anyway, I have my BMW M mug. I actually got this in Munich when I picked up my M3.
Well, I don't have a mug, but I got my Shelby shirt on.
There you go.
Carol Shelby, the Cobra shirt.
Snake bit.
Always. One snake bit, always snake bit, man.
Yeah. All right. So this is like the week for battery electric vehicle cold showers. And the first one, we got to get into this. This I find shocking. CEO Ford Jim Farley drove an F-150 Lightning, the all-electric F-150 pickup from Palo Alto to Las Vegas, and he had problems. And he said, imagine that. And he said, "Oh my gosh, this is really difficult." And he called it a reality check. It's a really good reality check of what challenges our customers are going through. We're going to talk about this, but guys, why is this his first trip? He should have done this 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year. What?
Bingo. I mean, I hats off to a degree. He's a little bit late to the party on taking his own medicine, as it were, to see what customers are going through. And some of the most progressive companies out there, they do what all companies really should do, which is become your own customer. Have somebody go in there and try to join for a membership, and then on the frustrating side, cancel a membership. Have somebody test out the product, have somebody break the product, have somebody go through customer service and see how frustrating it is. For him to have been this late to see what the heck is going on with his own huge global push, not just his, he's not alone in this, but for him to have done it late is a little bit of a story, but it was a rather bold thing that he disclosed how troublesome it was. So we get good marks and bad marks, but heaven help us all. I got to share a quick little side story before we open the floor to this. It may not have another spot in this whole show. I was at a dinner party for family the other night. We were all coming from different cities. We'd all flown in. They had all gotten there the night before. I'd made reservations for 10 people at a very difficult to get reservations just because it's super popular rooftop place. So 10 people are getting there. Everybody was on time. It was at 6:55. The waiter keeps checking on us. Where are the other two? Where are the other two? Well, we have 8 of the 10. 10 minutes go by, 15, 20, then 30, and we're texting frantically, "Man, are you okay?" They show up frazzled because they were charging their Tesla.
Oh,
It's just another day in the life, folks. I know that's a micro version versus Farley's macro version, but there are troubles at both ends of the spectrum.
I'll keep going back to what Jack Roush said about, we've been talking this whole BEV issue for a long time, that, if you charge in your home and you go to work or grocery run, come back, plug in at home, you live in Southern California or that's a perfect it's fine as a second, third luxury vehicle. But like Jack Rouch said, you can't spend your life foraging for electricity. And, here, everybody, this is their experience foraging for electricity. I've seen the pictures of lines in California at Tesla charging stations. It's only going to get worse as they open up to other manufacturers. But, we got to go back, and we talked about, Toyota was slow to, Toyota is very smart. They saw this kind of like the Holland tulip bulb craze. Americans are very fattish, and the world is fattish. This is the BEVs were going to save the world, and everybody was on it. Politicians were on it. They were pushing it. Now we're facing the reality that was there to begin with. This reality was there from day one. And I just find it irritating that people are finally, saying, oh yeah, they're not as great as we thought they are. They're great for people that can plug in that can afford a $5,000 charging station in their home and never have to charge anywhere. Now, one day we'll have the infrastructure, but the infrastructure doesn't exist. And Farley experienced that. And I agree, Adams, duh, dude, it just took you now this to figure it out.
It took 40 minutes at one charger to charge to 40%. He was frustrated by that. This is like, you have to try your product in the real world. And of course, you're insulated. You're in a bubble. You drive company cars. You don't drive your competition. You're in a bubble. If you're a CEO of a car company, you have to make an effort to get out of the bubble. Adams, you're right. Give him credit for getting out of the bubble. But he should have done this earlier and more often. I just, here's a funny story. Mark Fields, who was a CEO, I think 3 CEOs ago for Ford, there's a famous picture of the interior of one of the cars he was driving, and it has the screen where my Ford Touch was, and the screen is shattered because he punched it. And somebody got his car. And it shows how frustrating my Ford Touch was 10 years ago.
A little bit more than a touch,
before it goes out to customers.
Yeah,
that's how customers feel. And there was something, Steve, I'm not sure if it was in the link to the article on Farley or if it was somewhere else like related to that typical rabbit hole, but there was something about charging station etiquette. And I think Farley said that he had discovered that there actually is an etiquette, that if you're sitting there waiting on a charger, now just try to apply this to the Dino powered world, that if people are waiting and you go to get your turn to charge, it is considered rude and improper and selfish to get more than 50%. So think about that. Now, let's say you're at a gas station, you are waiting for the gas pump. Would it be considered rude and selfish to actually fill your tank? I can count on one hand the number of times I've left a gas station with less than a full tank for some peculiar reason. Maybe I didn't top it off, but that's what it's come to. So just get about half the charge if people are waiting and roll on. That's silly, folks.
Yeah, that's silly.
It is.
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, but we can segue into the safety topics as we're talking about BEVs. Well, when we finish this discussion, we can segue right into safety because it's another BEV issue.
Good. Yeah, safety is next. And
wait, can I yell about 2 more things?
Please,
yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm juiced up on the Ferrari coffee. I got to get this off my chest. As we sit here and listen to this snake oil or Holland tulip story about how wonderful the world of electric cars is, let us remember, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this, that there are 2 huge marketing terms. I come from a marketing background, so I get it. I'm throwing myself in the mix, called sustainability and renewability. Both of those are lies, people. This whole electric thing about renewable, it's not renewable unless you can make cobalt and lithium in your kitchen. Because if you can't, it's not renewable. We're going to run out of that resource. And as far as sustainable, I think we're being shown right now. What is sustainable about waiting 45 minutes to get half a charge? And we are just at the front edge of this. We're not even a tenth of the way through, or I don't know. It's very frustrating that the world is being sold this romantic lie, and that's what it is, in order to make you seem like you're doing the earth a big favor by going electric. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hybrid, we need more hybrids and more hydrogen vehicles. We got
Hybrid,
plenty of
that's the word.
hydrogen and the hybrid, because the thing about a car, you think about it, the amount of energy that is lost to heat and braking. So recapturing that energy loss is, to me, what makes sense from a scientific standpoint is, but Toyota's, working further on hybrids, and I think we're going to see more hybrids coming out with the low range electric. So you can drive in the city for 30 miles, and then you get out of the city, then you switch over to gas. Atkinson style motors that serve as generators. And to me, that makes complete sense based upon the infrastructure we have. And hopefully we'll see that pendulum swing that, the party is over, with the love for BEVs. Yeah, one day we'll be there, but we're not ready.
We're not ready. Yeah.
We beat on
I can imagine it. I mean, I really do. I can see a future with electric cars, and my eyes were open with the Porsche Taycan, which I thought, all right, I can live with this. It drives like a Porsche, and it's great. I really enjoyed it. But we're in the trough of disillusionment section of the hype cycle, and we need to slow down, cool our jets, and push back the timeline. It's going to take more time. So let's go on to safety. Stephan, go ahead and do that.
Since we're talking about BEVs, one of the things that has just irritated me about especially the BEVs and the Teslas with their autopilot is how we as drivers have become beta testers for software. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just dangerous. I think it's wrong. We accept it in our computers. We accept it in our phone that, it's got a glitch. It's not going to work. But you can't have 1% to 6% of the automotive vehicles on the roads behaving differently than the rest. When we drive, we have certain visual clues, expectations of what cars in front of us do. I talked about it with the Hyundais, with the regenerative braking. The brake lights weren't coming in, a lot of rear end collisions. And this was a real issue. There's a great YouTube video that we talked about. Kia and Hyundai felt, they got wind of this, they knew about it, and they made the right move. They've launched a field service campaign to update the logic system. So we had talked about it, where when you let off your gas car, you kind of come to a slow roll stop. It takes a long time. When you let off the gas, so to speak, the accelerator pedal in a electric vehicle that you have single pedal driving on, it's like hitting the brakes. Well, the Genesis GV60, the GV70, GV80, the brake lights weren't coming on as well as the Ioniq 5. So what they did was they went back to the old Chevy Bolt. They did the accelerometer. So our iPhones all have accelerometers in them. Cars do as well. So now if you're in single mode, regardless of how hard you let go, once they feel a deceleration about 0.13 Gs, the brake lights come on. So, but once again, this is an example of we being beta testers, and in my mind, there is no grounds whatsoever for any beta software. Autonomous driving, the software, we don't do beta testing in airplanes. Now, with the 737 MAX, there was some issues. So that really was and that's the extreme example of beta software in transportation. And in my mind, trains don't need beta software. Yeah, it takes longer. It's going to be longer to roll out. We expect the next edition tomorrow. But I mean, good on Kia and Hyundai. I mean, they had to. I'm sure there's going to be several lawsuits that they're going to have to pay out on rear end collisions without a doubt, because this was a fault in their software. And Elon Musk is so rich, Tesla, he doesn't care if there's, he just writes checks to people, that have loose family members, because, with his kind of cash at 1.5, 2, 3, 4 million, who cares? But I hope that National Highway Traffic Safety Administration gets very aggressive and puts a stop to this beta test software. The question is, how do you really test it? I think they need to be ahead of the game and understand what software is capable of, and how does that software that we now have replicate our expectation of how gas cars drive, meaning brakes, acceleration, everything. So.
Well, Stephan, a couple things there. Yeah, you mentioned that about Elon Musk and his relative immunity to either criticism and or fines, because I mean he's at that lofty perch. And of course, it was out in the news not too long ago that he actually paid teams of people to quash the negative reports of range, safety, et cetera, in his vehicles. And you know that's just playing dirty right there. I mean that's just the wrong thing. When you mentioned that on Hyundai and Kia going to the, I guess, the decelerometer, the reaction of the gyro that makes it, oh, wait, we're decelerating, put on the brake lights. What do other manufacturers use? Do they not all employ some version of that does make the brake lights come on?
You know, when I watched the initial video, they talked, different manufacturers did different ways. They calculated the speed change. Some did behavior, like if you're going on the interstate single pedal at 60, 70 miles an hour and you let off. So they had these various algorithms in there. But I think, you know, the Chevrolet started off with the accelerometer algorithm. And I think, you know, going back to archaic software engineering code, what is the simple solution that we do? Well, cars accelerate and they decelerate. And we as drivers, that is something that we see ahead of us, behind us, coming from the sides. That part of driving is understand if somebody in a steady state of velocity, are they hitting their brakes coming in there? So it's something that we see and process visually as humans. So in my mind, it makes complete sense that you tie what we see visually as acceleration, deceleration with an accelerometer in a vehicle. And I think that, along with some other algorithms, and to me, the algorithm, if you're on the interstate, you know, EV at 30 miles an hour in single pedal driving, and you take your foot off the accelerator, the minute you release that, to me, would be in mind, I'd have an algorithm that light would come on. You know,
we've come a long way from the $9 contact switch that used to sit behind your brake pedal.
Yeah, the click.
Yeah. The reality is that with an electric car, and you take your foot off the accelerator with one pedal driving, you're braking. You're just not hitting the brake pedal.
Exactly. You're right. Yes. Yeah. Good point, Steve. I should have mentioned that. So for those of you that don't know a whole lot about EVs, basically the motor is attached to the wheel. So when you can set it so that it makes more electricity by using the motor as a brake rather than the brake pads. So, Steve, your point is well taken. I should have said that single pedal driving is braking without using a brake pedal. Therefore, you have to have algorithms or accelerometer to let people know that, yes, I am braking. For listeners, I'm using quotes. You're braking with your right foot on the gas pedal, which is a new form of driving that eventually will become, I think I did it in the Volvo when I drove it. The Polestar. I enjoyed single pedal driving. I thought it was very intuitive, but
Hyundai is going to have all kinds of legal problems. They are currently being sued because they're vehicles that are, in the last 10 years, if you don't have a push button to start the car and you use a key for your ignition, it's very easy to steal. There's something called the Kia Boys that put a video up, and it's on YouTube, and it tells you how to steal a car. It's very easy to steal a Hyundai that uses a key. Wouldn't it be something if a stolen Hyundai got rear-ended because the brake lights didn't come on? There's two lawsuits in one car.
One-stop shopping.
Well, it comes up to the whole point that the Hyundai Kia have done tremendous design, and they're very good about what you touch and feel in a car. But where they save money and why their vehicles are cheaper is what you don't see underneath the skin. The componentry, the software, the shortcuts. That's just part of how they've made very nice looking, good driving, affordable vehicles, that it's the components underneath everything. And that would have to be software as well, where they take shortcuts to save money to get at the price point that people like. But when it comes to safety, that you really, in my mind, you can't do that. And they're going to pay the price for this one.
Well, I
50,
think
Yeah,
think
about
you're dead on.
56,000 vehicles out there.
All right.
I mean, all you got to do, like to just reinforce your point as you started this off, all you'd have to do is ask anybody, would you buy a beta parachute?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're putting yourself and everybody else on the road in danger.
Yep, absolutely.
I have no problem with somebody else using a beta parachute, but not me.
As long as you're not in the field where they're coming down.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Car Spotting Adams, you saw something interesting. Tell us about it.
It is an unusual piece of equipment. We were in Montana, and we had driven, and I'm not exaggerating, this is in Glacier National Park. Have you ever seen, well, if you ever see Glacier National Park, I mean, that is, it's one of the largest parks in the United States. And there are
By the way, I mean, Adams, what the hell's going on out there? I mean, you saw Brickland and now this
in a junkyard
in Montana.
In Montana, and then we end up, there it is, we end up ascending this, oh my gosh, it was like 10,550 feet up. It was 30 miles of unpaved road. We had a rented van. Every bolt on that van was loose by the time we got back, and up to and including as we were going to this place where this Cayenne safari build. And I know Stephan loves all things safari. That's why I picked it. But as we were going up, the road was so rough, it disconnected the battery. And I'm driving and it cut off. It cut off. The power steering stopped. You know, my degenerative braking kicked right on in because the car was off. That's how rough the road was. But we got up there, and I saw this lifted Cayenne, and I thought, well, that's kind of the redneck edition of what somebody would do. The closer I got, the more I was wrong. This car was done immaculately well. And Steph, I'm not sure if there it is. Check out that exhaust.
So describe it for our listeners, Adam.
Okay, well, this is a Cayenne of, Steve probably knows the gen number, but I'm going to say it's a mid 2010 to 2014, somewhere in that world. And it's lifted, I'm guessing, in the 5-inch range of what's there. It's got a side rear exit exhaust.
I'm amazed at that exhaust. It's got so listeners, coming out basically the left rear fender right behind the rear tire, coming through the plastic bumper, is a gorgeous stainless steel metal ring with the exhaust coming out. And I don't know why you would do that, but
he had, and Steph, that's a great question, man. He had all his lower hanging components. I just sort of like looked under it, which wasn't hard because I could about limboed under the vehicle. But there was metal cladding underneath, and I guess this was protecting the gas tank and protecting the exhaust. Okay. And that cutout that you're describing with this kind of good-looking stainless or whatever it is material, it was on both sides, because this is a VA. It looks like something you would see on like a nautique boat.
Yes,
coming out the rear.
I love it. He's got a tent on top, but this will come up later on. But so here you got this off-roading, Mad Max Cayenne, but he's got the damn spoiler on it. I mean, who needs a spoiler?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I'm going to defend it on practical, since I have that car. Where is it? I have that spoiler. You know what that spoiler does is keeps the dirt off your rear glass pretty good.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, it does. It does a good job of spoiling the airflow and sending it past the glass.
Okay, there you go. All right.
I'll give you logic points for that, even though it doesn't. Right.
Well, yeah. Now see, that's not that this dude or dudette is obviously not a pretender. I mean, this is a real deal Cayenne, and here they are up on these roads, and this looks like one of those. I'll bet this is some kind of Instagram or influencer that is blogging about their travels across with this Cayenne, because this looks like it, and it looks like also it's a real deal vehicle. What has he got? A little spy bumper sticker on the back there, but pretty impressive.
Stefan, you and I did a show about these overlander vehicles. Andrew Clark, who's been a guest, has one, Ford Transit. But if you have a Ford Transit or a Sprinter, that's the kind of thing that, you go out into the desert or you go way out of cell phone range and you kind of camp out. That's a really big thing with millennials and Gen Zs. But I've never seen a Cayenne.
Yeah, especially a 10 on top. Old men like us getting up twice during the night, falling off the ladder, breaking our neck in the woods. I don't think so. But yeah. Interesting.
I give bravery points to whoever took that sophisticated of a platform and decided to make it off-roadish. I mean, I give them points.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can see that parked outside of a tiny home, one of those one-bedroom houses, off the grid someplace.
Solar panels everywhere.
Of course, they have a satellite phone so they can constantly be connected to Instagram.
Yeah. There you go. Life worth living.
That's cool. All right.
What's
so
next, Steve?
Special edition cars. And
okay.
we talked about a bunch of these since the show started. And I just decided let's just talk about 3 that we love and 3 that we hate, because let's bring them all in together into one segment, because these are really cool or really bad. And there's lots of them, and we've talked about them. And I'm like, let's just spend a segment on it because it's pretty cool. We all sat down and we did 3 special edition vehicles that we love, 3 that we hate. So we're all going to go through the ones we love first, then the ones we hate. And I had a lot of fun coming up with these. I'm sure you guys did too. So Steph, go ahead and start us off, man. Give us one you love.
All right. So let me, listeners, bear with me here while I pull up mine. I'm going to. All right. So let me. This is not it. I'm going to pull it up. Here we go. So.
Oh. Whoa.
So,
I saw some love and hate going on at the same time.
Yeah. So.
Born.
1968. This car sold for $3.74 million. The king of cool himself, Steve McQueen, is Frank Bullitt.
The car did not sell for that in 1968. The car
no, sorry.
Recently.
Recently, the car sold for $3.74 million in original condition.
Are you sure McQueen is walking by that car, or does he own the 4-door Valiant?
Anyway, so but Jack Roush was commissioned by Ford to do the very first the first Bullitt that came out in 2001, the redo.
The Bullitt Mustang.
The Bullitt Mustang. The later editions were 2008-9, and I own a 2019 Bullitt Mustang. And that is one of my very favorite limited edition vehicles. And the thing I absolutely love about my Bullitt Mustang is there is not a single Ford badge on the vehicle. There is not a spoiler on the vehicle. It has one little like a fake gas cap emblem in the center back of the rear valence that says Bullitt, and that is it. People look at this car and it's got a different front end on it, and people look at it and are like, they don't know what it is. It's in dark Highland green, metallic, gorgeous paint. It's got giant Brembo brakes on the front with 5-spoke torque D thrust like tire wheels. And people don't know what is it like is it Aston Martin? Is that a Jaguar? And then but the other cool thing is young kids, 18, 16, 20-year-olds, they love the Bullitt Mustang. So I got it because I feel like I can have a high performance Mustang GT and not look like a little 18-year-old high schooler on his way to prom. So I love it. And it's one of my very favorite editions, the color of the car, the features of it. And that's my number one love, and that's why I own one.
Honestly, Steph, that had occurred to me as one of my picks, but I figured you would choose it, so I backed off. I totally agree with that, and it's everything you said. It's the sort of downplaying of some of the stuff instead of announcing. Is that you going to work? No,
that's leaving work.
So, listeners, that's a 2001 edition Bullitt flying over the hills, reproducing Steve McQueen in the movie. And then here's a picture of the latest edition.
God, that's fantastic looking, but just look at the restraint. I mentioned that word a whole lot in styling, and I just think it's one of the unlauded great traits of good design is just knowing when to say when. And that car has got just enough of everything you like, but not too much of anything you don't. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's got one piece of chrome on the front. It's got the chrome around the windows, and that's it. No other chrome on the vehicle. No badges and a blacked out front end. And it's, I just love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast to drive. So that's my number one.
All right, that's a good one. Isn't it amazing, by the way, that this has stood the test of time and we still have Bullitt Mustangs, despite the fact that that was a crappy movie with a good chasing. It's a great car, good chasing. The movie is stupid. The title is stupid.
Yeah,
it's a great car.
Seriously, there's a cop. His name is Frank Bullitt. Seriously, come on, give me a break. All right, Adams, give me a good one, Adams.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if this. It sounds like we're all into our own version of home cooking here. But I'm thinking as my favorite option package in general terms, a Porsche GTS. The GTS in the Porsche world sort of slots itself between the higher horsepower version of something and the turbo version of that same thing. In the specific case, I would pick a 997.2 911 GTS, and there you go right there. And Steve will probably call that color, I think it may be cobalt blue. Am I close?
I think it's golf blue, but yeah.
Say it again. What is the color?
I think it's golf blue.
Okay.
GOLF, not GU, but GOLF. I think it's golf blue.
And that one appears to have something weird going on with the passenger side glass. I don't know what that is, but in any event, the GTS would be the wider fenders, the turbo brakes, turbo suspension, turbo wheels. You'll notice those are center locks. And folks, if you're looking at a GTS or a turbo, don't get the center locks. That would just be my sort of one admonition there. But it's a higher horsepower version. It would be the normal would have been a 385 horse, and this one would be 408 horse. Doesn't sound like a whole lot of difference, but it's enough to make a difference. You totally notice sport exhaust. The car rides, in typical Porsche, overdoing everything to the nth engineering degree. It is 0.5 inches lower. Again, not something you pick up visually, but it just sort of adds a little muscularity to the look. And it's like the cars of old in the 911 range that would have been called the M491 or the Turbo Look or the Super Sport or the Sport Classic. The GTS is the platform that is non-turbo. It slots right in between. And I think sort of like Steph's Bullitt version, it's just exactly the stuff you want and not too much of stuff you don't.
Adams, I have to totally agree. So to me, this is like an affordable, ST, which is not affordable. This is better than a GT3 Touring. It's more livable. It has more capability than any of us could ever use, but you've got that extra bit of capability. And I have to agree. I've always kind of had a bit of a woody for GTS. I mean, if I was to get a 911, a 997.2 GTS would be for me. I agree with that pick. That'd be a wonderful car to my addition to my cars. I'd love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. A great choice. I like that color too. My pick was it's not even a really good car, but I like this special edition. It's a 1978 Chevy Corvette Indy Pace Car edition, and I've always I like the look. This is one of the Corvettes. That's
not that one.
Not that one.
That's definitely
look away from your screen.
Okay.
Look away.
I got to see if I can find this. Okay, here we go.
It's a car that it is the epicenter of the malaise era. And this car I think it has 180 horsepower. It's all show and no go. This car was so sad. You couldn't get a manual and it had no power, and it just sad, and quality control was awful. I don't care. I just think the Pace Car edition looks great. I liked it when it came out. I like it now. I think it looks really good now. There you go.
Holy mackerel, Steve-O. Because I'm going to let Adams go, then I'm going to transition to ones I hate. Okay, so Adams, you go.
Uh-oh, do we have one that might be on opposite lists among us?
Go ahead, Adam. Oh my God.
Well, I sit here
Steve-O.
and I can't go a moment farther in this podcast without
Jeez.
re-quoting Steve 2 times. First, he mentioned that the EV movement, we are in the trough of disillusion. And then for this, he called it the epicenter of the malaise era. Folks, you don't get phrases like that just anywhere. This particular one, the thing I like about it most are the wheels. I really do like that slotted wheel. If you'll notice, the eagle-eyed among you that actually has a little red pinstripe on the wheel. And you could get this package with the official pace car lettering in the trunk if you chose to put it on.
Oh, didn't know
I would absolutely leave it off.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a car that people have to read. But Steve, I'm surprised by this pick.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else to say. It's pretty handsome, though. I'll give it that.
There you go.
The C3 hung around way too long, like about a
Oh,
decade
my
too
God.
long. It was the last tramp at the party way after last call.
So we're going to segue here into
I knew that pick would not be enthusiastically embraced.
So, because here's what my pick was. So my number one pick.
Why are you showing that?
Okay, my number one pick is any Indianapolis pace car. Okay, any of them. I thought they were all.
You love them all?
I hate them all. and let me
didn't clarify, did he?
absolutely. I hate them all. So I got some. So, okay.
This is
How about
great.
here's
Look at
the
that.
Oldsmobile Indianapolis Bravada pace car. Listeners, this is
You
like
talk
a
about a looker.
4-door SUV box. That was a pace car. Now here they had a pace car that wasn't a car. It's a truck, the SSR in purple with flames on it was a pace car.
It's not even a truck. What is it?
Oh my God. So I'm like,
Supercharged grape.
so I'm like, so my number one hate is any Indianapolis pace car. I just think they're all awful. So I couldn't pick just one. There are too many to pick from. I mean, look at this. But listeners, you can't say this is that SSR, that weird Chevy flat pickup 2-door thing. I don't even know what the hell it is. But
It's
that
a
was
category we don't want.
it's a category nobody wants. But that was the Indy pace car. Oh, collector's item. My ass. I mean, look at God, this thing is just awful.
This is going to turn into a Cars on Call cage match.
Yeah. All right. So I'll let somebody go next.
Well, we're back to you on cars we love. So,
Okay. So cars will get back
but
to me.
I'm sensing that the next car, the special edition car you love, it will not be an Indy pace car.
No.
So-
All right. So here is.
All right, give us
all
what
right,
you
so
love.
listeners,
Those
here
are all great. I love to hate all of them.
All right,
look at
so
that.
here is my second car that I love, and let me tell you why. This is the Plymouth Superbird, listeners. You've got to be pretty old to realize, but Richard Petty drove one. This is the giant. This is the Plymouth Roadrunner that they put about an extra 20 inches of fiberglass nose and on the tail and put the fin 3 feet up in the air. But Adams, I'll never forget. It was probably about 1974. I was up on Lake Martin and by Eclectic, and around came the corner a Superbird in Petty Blue. And I remember just laughing my ass off, like, what is this thing? And it was so outrageous that to me it is absolutely so cool. But the thing to understand is they did this for NASCAR to actually win in NASCAR, and they did win.
Run down a couple of the things we're looking at, Steph, and why they did that, if you can cover it quickly, because it's cool.
So you basically take a Plymouth Roadrunner, and then you think about the front end of the cars back in the 70s were basically flat. You had a big front end. Well, they made a long pointy end with flip up headlights. So now you've got the car goes out about another 20 inches to a long point in the front, and they put a little scoop on the bottom for airflow. And then they added vents on top of the hoods to let the air out. I mean, they added scoops on top of the reverse scoops on top of the fenders to let the pressure out from under the hood. And then they extended the back. They put some vents on the rear fenders to help cool the brakes. And then there's this fin that's like 3 feet up in the air that's above the hood of the car, and that's to add downforce. So what's funny is a Plymouth Superbird is actually slower than the same Roadrunner because it has so much downforce that the street car didn't have enough horsepower to be faster. Now the NASCAR version was way faster because it generated the downforce they wanted. But to think that Plymouth, reached down there and found a pair and actually made this, homologated it, put it on the road, the most outrageous, this is to me, the most outrageous American limited edition car ever put on the street. I just love this thing. They were available. They were affordable. This isn't like, the Mustang GTD that just got released. There's, out of a price. Now, this is something that people could actually buy, and they did. So for me, everything about this car just screams, this is just so awesome. It's so outrageous. It's awesome.
There's that petty blue. The thing about that car, and I was actually alive when those cars were being made, and I was mildly car aware. And I was friends at the time with the Dodge Plymouth, the son of the Dodge Plymouth dealer. They couldn't give those cars away new.
Right. Well, you can see why. Can you imagine pulling up in your neighborhood and this being people looking like, what the hell is that? But I just love it for its outrageousness and affordability. And then it won on the track. But you could sure look cool on the street with it.
All right, Adams.
Oh, okay. Quick transition. Good pick there. Let's see. For me, on the best, I may have to redeem our friends over in the Corvette world, since we may have offended a few of them. I'm going to go with the Corvette Grand Sport.
I got to find it. Hold on a second.
2000,
you keep going.
2013 427. And honestly, it must be a theme in my head that this particular car, it's got the punched out bodywork. It's got the big motor, normally aspirated. So it's not the supercharged version of ZR1, but it's got a lot of ZR1 stuff going on. And there's just something about that number, 427. I know we did the car naming thing a couple episodes back, but the 427 just has a magic. That not being I think Stephan has a strange attraction to this. He keeps pulling it up.
You didn't send me a picture of it.
I didn't.
Okay, so I'm all right. So
you got to go hunt it down. A 2013 Corvette Grand Sport, and that particular package was very tastefully done. Tons of all the power you'd ever want, relatively rare, and they made something, and maybe it was called shadow blue or something along those lines, a grayish blue. And it's just it's a wonderful complete package on a Corvette. And I think it's a future collectible to the nines.
Really?
That's a good choice. Since maybe 1970, any special edition General Motors car is going to look terrible and it completely lacks taste. But that 2013, I agree, the 427 did look good. It was restrained, which is not typical for Corvette special editions.
True. Or of anything Corvette.
All right. My next one is 1954 Mercury Sun Valley. And I've got a place in Sun Valley, Idaho, and this car was named after Sun Valley, Idaho. And every time there's a car show up in Sun Valley, there's at least one of these, maybe two.
Never heard of that. Wow.
Well, it wasn't a big seller, and it's a long time ago. But the thing that was cool about it was the first vehicle for sale in the U.S. that had a fixed glass roof. So the idea was that you'd let the sun in. It was kind of a smoked glass thing, but it didn't open, but it was fixed glass roof, and it was very cool. Didn't sell great, but that was the beginning of what became sunroofs and moonroofs and all that.
Turn you into Idaho clam bake, man, sitting inside that thing in the Sun Valley with that sun coming through there. But I do like it's an interesting car, like a two-door coupe, no B pillar,
fabulous.
Yeah. So listeners, it's a kind of like a turquoisey blue, like you'd almost see in a Ford Thunderbird, but a little bit more minty green. Very pretty color.
Came in a bunch of colors. I've seen it in yellow and I think gray. But anyway, that's my next one. Stephan. Or
No,
Adams,
my
I guess
turn. No, I think it's
Yeah,
Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, Adams.
Hopefully I can get Adams' pictures right this time.
Oh, well, you've got this one, I do believe. So this is the third of three of the ones that we like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Ford Sport Track with the adrenaline package. The Sport Track was built on the Explorer. In fact, it was I think it was actually called, there it is, the silver.
What year?
2007 to 2010. I believe that, and there you go. Just look at that thing right there. That's just your kind of plain Jane old sport track, that the SVT team got a hold of it, and they, for lack of a better verb choice, they lighteninged it up. They gave it a pretty aggressive looking front fascia. They gave it the smoked headlights. They put in the driving lamps. I believe those are 20-inch wheels, 19 or 20-inch wheels. They've got the awesome little heat extraction vent in the side. It's got the running boards, and most importantly, it's got the 32 valve V8 living up under the hood.
Oh.
And you never see these things riding around. And I don't know how many were made. I probably should have looked that up, but they're excessively rare, but they're not crazy expensive. You can get probably the nicest one for sale in America right now for, 30 grand or under. And it's got a super mean sound to it. Not a lot on the cargo space. I understand, you're not going to make it the biggest Home Depot run you ever made, but look at the modern vogue among the Santa Cruz and the Maverick, with these diminutive trucks sort of trimming out a lot of fat. This truck was doing it before that was more socially acceptable.
Oh, I never thought you could put the words cool and sport track together, but I have to admit, Adams, that thing is totally cool. It's like retro cool to me. It's kind of like, I look at that, it's kind of like, if Chip Foose had a little hand in it. It just looks totally right.
No, and he might have, Steph. I don't know that. I'm just saying that does look like Chip Foose got a hold of it.
It does. It really does. Just the subtleties on the front fascia. I think the tires need to be a little bit bigger to fill the wheel wells, but I think I'm gonna have to look the Sport Track Adrenaline. I'm gonna look that up. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't remember the adrenaline. I do remember very well the Explorer Sport Track, and I just detested it. It was a bad Explorer. It was a bad truck.
Didn't it have a variable
wasn't useful.
transmission, a CVT too?
Not the adrenaline.
Okay, not the adrenaline, but the regular one.
Maybe, but I just hated it, and I didn't think it looked good. And I thought it was a crappy truck and a crappy Explorer. Looking at it now, 15 years later, I like it.
I do like it.
This one parked next to the plain Jane version is a night and day. What happens when some stylists get a hold of a kind of a dumb looking truck? And you're right, Steve, they were just kind of terrible.
Those fenders are flared out with natural flares, or not bolt-on flares. It's got that kind of like, when the Germans do an M4 or they do the Mercedes, they and the Audis where they, just pop the fenders out smooth. And I gotta agree, that's got a stance and a look. I like it. Good call. I never even heard of it.
That's better now than it was then. I have the 1975 Dodge Street van. So the vans of the 70s became, if this van's a rockin', don't come a knocking. They were a phenomenon with, there were love shacks on wheels, and just it was incredible.
You're 3 for 3.
All right, I gotta find it.
A bumper sticker that was common at the time was don't laugh, your daughter may be in the back of this van. So there was a lot of action in the back of those vans, and then Dodge actually produced a version that they sold. It came like that from the factory.
With the porthole window and everything.
Yeah, with a porthole window.
Wow.
They sold it like that from the factory. So,
and it's got a little flip up sunroof.
Yeah, talk about encouraging fornication. But anyway, these were
seems to be a recurring theme there.
Yeah. So I just thought it was funny that this was an era, and it was a moment in time that I remember. I was too young to participate in any of that, but I remember seeing the vans rolling around. I was very young, so I didn't think anything about it. Now I look back and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they got away with it." So
Steve,
there you
what
go.
is that? What is that graphic on the door? Is that a customized thing, or is that actually part of the package? Is that
That's customized. Yeah, that's not
okay?
part of the
Okay.
package. But
Okay.
the porthole was.
Okay. So the porthole, the sunroof, the crazy wheels, and I guess some
Yeah.
fun paint colors.
Yeah, presumably not a not a velour sofa in the back, but yeah, you have
I
to
guarantee there was some shag
customize the
carpet.
interior. All right, so are we done with the goods, the ones we hate, we love? Anyone have any more?
I did too. I got one more.
Go for it.
Okay. Let me get this pulled up
While
here.
you're pulling it up,
Yeah.
I asked a
got
frequent guest, Jeff Bank, one of my partners, to come up with a list, and I'll just give you one that he had. And I guarantee none of you guys don't have this, and I wish I'd thought of it. The Golf, it was a 1990 something Golf Harlequin. And if
I
you
thought you were
Google
gonna say the
that,
Bon Jovi version.
Golf Bon Jovi, that was a Golf Harlequin, and it came, every body panel was a different color. I mean, it wasn't like shades,
Oh.
it was like orange, green, blue, white, yellow. The most amazing special edition. You just can't believe it. And they sold it, and you could buy one from the factory. So Golf, thank you, Jeff Bank. All right, go ahead, Stephan.
All right. So my pick is the 300 SL Gullwing.
Wow.
Let me tell you why this is a pick for me. So thinking about cars for me, it's always something I connect with emotionally. And so my favorite drivers are Fangio, Senna, and then Hamilton Lewis. So I had to pick a car that was attached to one of my drivers. The Ayrton Senna Edition NSX and McLaren. Yeah, I like them, but they're just a little too much. Now, Lewis does own two Cobras, 427 Streets. He owns two of them. So big fan of that. But having to go back to Fangio, because I always had my French grandmother, we called her Fangio driving. She loved Fangio. So for me, I had this connection. And the 300 SL Gullwing, which is related to the 300 SLR, which of course Sterling Moss in 1955 won the Mil Miglia with what's his name, Jenkins, set an all-time record.
Dennis Jenkinson.
Thank you, Steve-O. And then Fangio won in the Nürburgring ring with the SLR. He won the Swedish GP, and then the 300 SL Gullwing was such a revolutionary vehicle. The engine slanted sideways. There's just so many technical things about this car that this really was like a spaceship. Mechanically and technologically so far advanced from anything else produced. And that's why this is one of my and it really was a limited edition. They only made them for 3 years. They were incredibly expensive. Then they came out the convertible version, but I just absolutely love everything about this vehicle. And then of course the attaching Fangio and Sterling Moss to the heritage of this car just makes it one of my all-time favorites.
And that may be the prettiest automotive photograph I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'd like to.
It's
I wish I could give credit. I pulled it off the internet, but
it's just fantastic. Looks like a 911R bat sale. But that car, like Steph said, it had so many advances and so many firsts that it was not an incremental improvement. It was like a factorial improvement versus the competition. That car was leagues ahead.
This is like man landing on the moon. This car was just a technological masterpiece, so ahead of its time.
It's amazing. All right, let's go with something we hate. Adams, give us something you hate, a special edition car.
This will be quick because we've seen it roughly a dozen times.
I got to find it again. All right.
The car of the 1998 Indy Pace Car edition. Purple. Just please. Okay, let's keep moving. I know I don't even have to explain why that's so ghastly.
Yeah, listeners, listen. You have to tell listeners. Describe it to listeners.
It is an LSD bad trip purple with yellow accents and some ridiculous version of a checkered flag flowing out from the yellow accents. And to top this nastiness off, it's got bright yellow wheels, which were good looking wheels until they applied the sunburst yellow paint
and a yellow interior.
with the yellow
So
interior.
you can see why I hate everything to do with Indy Pace vehicles, and this is the epitome of it.
It's hating us. Please get it off the screen. I'm feeling a little queasy.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 1998. All right, Stefan.
All right, so up to me. All right, so here I'm gonna. Here's one I really. So I do. I hate anything with giant wings on the rear, road cars, all of them. But
Except for the Superbird. Now you
except
gotta make
because
one exception.
I know that's the one exception. But I guess I'm down to my last pick here. I'm gonna have to pick. This is a tough call. All right, I'm gonna pick the Screaming Chicken, man. I just
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
just really
And that's not it, by the way.
here we go. This is the
Oh.
listeners, this is the black Trans Am with the
Oh.
gold Screaming Chicken, the gold rims, the gold trim around the windows. And I know it's with Burt Reynolds, and he was kind of cool in the movie Smoking the Bandit, but I hated these cars when they came out. I still don't like them.
1978.
I just think they're tacky, they're gross. There's to this date, I really hate that. And here's the honorable mention. I'm gonna have to give this away. So I know you guys here's honorable mention. The Aston Martin Signet, which was the smart car. So those are my last two.
Those are both
Toyota.
excellent picks to be awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about the Trans Am, and I know we're tight on time, is that they sold the living fire out of those cars.
I know they did.
Every redneck with enough money bought one.
Yep.
I will confess that in the 70s, I thought they were cool. I thought they looked good. I liked the gold wheel, as I even like the Screaming Chicken on the hood. I don't like them now. I'm embarrassed that I liked them, but I did.
Your taste had matured.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad something did. All right, I'm gonna go with the Porsche Dakar, the 911 Dakar.
Oh, I don't have a
2000. I sent you one, but
2020.
Okay.
I'll have to find it. All right.
2023 Porsche 911 Dakar. I find it offensive. They basically took the front axle lift that is an option so that you can go up your driveway easier, and they put one in the back of the car, they put one in the front of the car, and they lifted it up. And it's a cynical money grab. No one's going to drive it off road. That is a stupid tent that costs $8,000 as an option. I hate this car. I'm disgusted. It makes me embarrassed to be a Porsche fan. And anyone who likes it is a bad person.
Steve, I must agree. There's not one redeeming quality about it. And
I'm with you, but I back you up on that as well. It's just, I would be embarrassed as a Porsche file, which I'm not. I do love Porsches, but to be embarrassed to say that at a cocktail party, if you were to meet somebody, I could just see your face, Steve. You're at a cocktail party. Yeah, I just bought a Porsche Safari. I could just see your face just hit the floor. Oh yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. All right. Enough said. Go ahead, Adams.
Okay. And we can keep this to 2 if that's what you want to do.
We'll keep going.
No,
okay. Got a little more time. Keep going. How about 3?
Okay. This
especially the hate.
This is some significant badness wrapped around another paint scheme. So so to be super quick, the 1996 Viper in red with yellow wheels, affectionately known as the mustard and ketchup edition. It just it's like the people were the people in the Dodge design team. They must have been tasked with this question: how can we turn a rather vulgar car into something truly repulsive? And I would say they won on that.
You own which year Viper did you own? You had
I had a 2000 GTS, so I had the the coupe,
the coupe version.
Yeah, which I loved. I mean, it's a great car underneath this, which is why that's such a travesty, because that's really a kind of a fun, unique slice of Americana. But dear God, did they have to do the McDonald's thing to it?
How weird! You go to your dealer, you say, "I want a Viper. Hold the ketchup, hold the mustard."
Yeah. That's a bad one.
Damn.
Okay.
All right,
That's
Steve,
nasty.
give us a hate. I think I got it pulled up.
I really, I hated this then. I hate it now. I hate that I have to say it. 1978 Mustang King Cobra, 140 horsepower, 140 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 9.8 seconds. It's offensive,
Downhill.
terrible, ugly, slow,
Garish.
bad quality. And usually in these old pictures, I like the model. I don't like this model. So the model next to the car, I don't even like her. I'm disgusted.
And you know in your heart of hearts that she's a bad person.
Yeah, so listeners,
if she likes a Dakar, she is.
This is the Mustang too, the little tiny, it was awful little shit box. And this thing's even got T-tops. It's got gold painted pinstriping around every possible surface, the fenders, the wheel wells, the rear window, the side windows, the top. Then it's got some version of a screaming chicken thing on the front as well. I can't really see it, but yeah, this was just a travesty of a vehicle, a sad indictment of the times, the malaise era, like you said. But to put the name Cobra and King Cobra on this was that's heresy.
I agree on all counts. That is one of the lowest of the lowest points. In that otherwise sort of forgettable era, that was just this desperate clinging to the past and just terrible.
Stephan, you got another one?
I did. I think I did all. I did all.
I think you did all yours too. All right,
I
Adams?
did 3 loves and 3 hates. Yeah.
I got another hate.
Yeah, I thought so.
I
yeah.
did. I did. Let me.
Oh yeah. Well, if you got it, go for it.
I've got nothing. This is just a real. My fleeting mind here. Okay, we were talking about. I hate all things. Maybe I got a picture here. No, I don't. All things that I hate. The Dodge Ram Daytona pickup with the Superbird wing on the back. Remember that?
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Oh my God.
90s. It was in the mid 90s, or maybe
around 98. I wish you could find it.
Oh, I'll bring it. You go.
It was the 90s.
It was awful.
That was a little mini truck.
The full size pickup truck.
I thought it was a Dakota. No, you're right. It was the big, but it was a short bed, not a crew cab. So it was 2 doors, short bed.
Yeah. Here we go, listeners. These are watching. Here we go. But
Was early,
early
I can't believe you've never seen this ad.
early
I've
2000s.
seen it. Yeah, gotcha.
Just oh my God.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It's bad.
That's
It's
bad.
bad.
All right.
All right, Adams.
Okay. All right. Well, this hate is hard for me to even bring up because, like we mentioned with the Viper, underneath it's a really, really, really good car. In fact, a great car, a car that I love until this particular package, which was the BMW Z8 Alpina edition.
Yeah.
The Z8 was a wonderful car that borrowed the motor from the M5. Beautiful car, all the wonderful things we've said about it. So just replay it
around 2001-ish.
Yep. And then they came out with the I sent it. It's somewhere in there, Steph.
Okay, I thought I had a.
It may be a black car, but
if you could take that Corvette off the screen, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're losing viewers by the moment.
Yeah,
every time it pops up.
There we go. Here we go.
There you go. Awesome. So Alpina, which is a revered name in the tuning world, they were tuners before people knew what tuners were, and they were BMW's tuner of choice. Well, they got a hold of the car, and the super quick story is they were thinking about putting in the V12 because what does a tuner do? They make the car better, usually faster, more exclusive, etc. So they couldn't shoehorn the V12 in. So what did they do? They chose a detuned V8, less power than the original car. Let me just stress that. So it went from 400 horsepower down to 375. They put on these unattractive wheels, at least to me. I know that's a matter of taste, but good God, just back off.
Those are gas. So describe them. They're five. They got 4 spokes. So it's a 5-spoke rim, and each spoke is 4 spokes in itself.
Alpina always has 20 spokes in their wheels. It's their rule, and
really?
Alpina always has 20 spokes. So what they did was they're like, we got to have 20 spokes. and they made it 20 spokes. But they made it ugly. They should have made it, 5 spokes.
Yep. Because the spokes are running parallel. If you're not looking at the photos, it's like a bear claw in the sand. That's
Yes.
or Monster Energy logo or something. And so then those are bigger wheels. And, to add insult to injury, you could only get it in an automatic transmission.
Oh.
And
Oh,
now let's rub salt in this festering wound and soften the suspension. And so they really emasculated this once proud, beautiful, fun performance car and watered down everything. And the shock of all this is that these cars will bring more than the standard Z8, but my hate only increases. I can't stand it.
I hate it too.
Yeah,
It's
because
terrible.
now Alpina does great. I mean, people love the Alpinas. But what were they thinking? Less power, softer suspension, automatic gearish wheels. It just doesn't make sense. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
they
awful.
they
It is
went
awful.
the opposite. And Alpina is a great. I love Alpina on almost everything else. But
Yeah.
there you go,
Yeah,
real
that's bad.
misstep.
That's bad. My last one is the 1984. We're getting close to out of time, but 1984 Shelby Charger. It was Shelby selling out. This has 175 horsepower.
Oh God.
A turbo. We everybody in this show, especially Stephan, loves Carroll Shelby, and we revere him. But this was a low point for him. This was him.
He was low on cash, man. This is the Malaysia. He's low on cash. V8 horsepower weren't king anymore, and he slapped his name on this thing. Oh,
yeah. I mean, he's always been, an automotive, very high priced call girl, and here he's a streetwalker. This is terrible. This is awful.
Oh, it's how would that look alongside the Mustang 2 King Cobra edition?
They're
that just
equivalent.
shows how far we slipped. That's a terrible vehicle.
They're equivalent. The only thing
Yeah.
good about it is the
You
color.
look at
The color is good. I'm going to go very quickly before we wrap up the show. I'm going to go very quickly through Jeff Banks' list because it's really good. The Golf Harlequin I already mentioned for good Challenger Demon 170, good Nissan Juke R. I forgot about that car, but basically it's got the GTR, Nissan GTR drivetrain in a Juke. That's pretty cool.
what?
Yeah,
I didn't know
I
that.
forgot they made it.
Wait a
I
minute.
gotta look that
You're
up.
kid-
It's beyond cool. Jeff Bank, if you're listening, awesome pick.
I've never heard. I've never.
Yeah, I remember as soon as he said, I'm like, crap. I remember that.
That's
They made
crazy.
like 30 of them. They made 30 of them.
Oh,
It's
30
so
of them. Okay,
awesome.
here it
Yeah.
is.
And then
like-
on his bad, the BMW M4, that's last generation M4
Yeah.
CSL.
Oh,
With
yeah,
the
that was-
water
we talked about
injection. The Infinity Sebastian Vettel edition of the FX. That sucks. Good for him for picking that one up. And he said AMC Gremlin Levi's edition. I'm surprised none of us picked that one up. So thank you, Jeff. And guys, really good lists. That was really great. So we're out of time. Lots of fun. And Stephan, close us out.
Well, there we go. I'm going to close this out with the picture of the Golf Harlequin.
Good.
Which
There it
Looks
is.
like he drove by a pickup.
It's like a
truck
junkyard
magnet.
dog, man. It's like you went to the junkyard and picked a piece of every car to build a car. I do like it though. But, hey, listeners, thanks for tuning in again. Remember, like, listen, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Watch us on YouTube, and we've got Instagram presence as well. And we look forward to talking to you next week.